Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. Are you receiving our signal? Can you see us? Can you hear us? We are testing live. Honestly, I think this thing probably went live before I expected to. I'm not sure what the delay is on like this. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Wilbo Wagons, I see you in that chat. Hello. Dilligaff, good to see you. Beaming signal. Let us know if you can get us on your Foundation encrypted YouTube accounts. That means you, Steve. Alrighty. It looks like we are doing okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be starting our broadcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey there, Foundation staff. This is Sherman, but you can call me Sherm. Welcome to another Anomalous Broadcast from Site-42. For anybody unfamiliar with our show, the rundown goes like this. Number 1, I read you an SCP document or tale or whatever story I got on deck for you. Letter B, I open up the floor to the community to discuss what we've read. We're often visited by SCP authors, staff, and fans, and if we're lucky, the author of the article themselves shows up to share some insight. Remember that if you'd like to join the conversation yourself, I will be monitoring the chat in between chapters and answering questions, as will my guest. Also remember that if you enjoy the show, leave a like and a comment to let us know, subscribe and hit the bell, and if you really want to help us out, become a patron at patreon.com/site42. Tonight, we are featuring 2 tales, Hurt and Without You, both by KaraKatt. And luckily for us, Kara has decided to join the show tonight, so let's bring her on. Going live in 3, 2, hello, Kara!
Hello! I wrote these tales.
Yes, that is in fact why you are here. How was your week?
I would hope so. Life is going well. Generally just got down all of my stuff that I was working on this last week, which includes these 2 tales, an SCP and a different tale. So, life is going actually pretty well for me right now.
As someone who hasn't successfully written an article in like a year or 2, that's a lot. Congratulations on that.
Yes, thank you.
Is there anything you would like to give the audience as premise for tonight's 2 tales?
These 2 tales are really, really, really heavy tales, mostly about like what was going on in Cassidy's head, or SCP-5097, and the aftermath of that with their girlfriend. Or rather, in this sense, wife, because they are married at this point. I forgot about that.
Alright, so if you guys are going to go check that out later on, this will be your behind-the-scenes context for what happens in SCP-5097. Ready to roll?
Yes.
Let's do it. Starting line. This is the first tale, Hurt. This part is written in a letter. Despite it all, I'm not strong. Out of the letter. They continued to toil over the sentence on the paper. Cassidy looked over to their wife, Rosa, who was asleep in the bed just to their left. They put their head in their hands as they continued to look over the notebook. They had always been troubled with something since they were a kid, and they couldn't help but feel as though they had become a burden on the people who actually cared about them. Invites left on the table or in the mailbox. Everyone left on red, no matter what they needed. Close friends, family, Rosa? Nothing more than cut ties and burnt bridges now. Everything just seemed to fall through for them. Slipped through the cracks to never return. It wasn't like they tried to isolate themselves. It just gradually happened.
I'm sorry, Rosa. Out of the letter. Everything they were told they could be, would be, should be, was a lie. Sweet, kind, talented, hard worker, risk taker. They were none of those things. A lie that they had put on for everyone. Something that they knew they could never live up to. They had always struggled with these letters, even before this. They started thinking again. They wanted to make this meaningful for Rosa. Tears started to run down their face as they sobbed quietly. They really didn't want to wake up their wife. She absolutely couldn't know what was going on. She'd always been so understanding, always there for Cassidy. Staying awake with them during times of insomnia, or holding them as they sobbed, or sobbed uncontrollably for no reason. She would feel betrayed, as though they didn't love her anymore. Like it was her fault. This wasn't true. Cassidy would do anything for Rosa, and they genuinely hoped she knew that, though they weren't sure she would after this.
Excerpt of the letter. Rosemary, you know that I would run through fire for you. I would carry you through hell and walk the 7 seas. After everything we've been through, I never wanted to spend another day without you. Continuing from the letter, or outside the letter. No. Cassidy tore out the piece of the notebook paper and tossed it into the trash. Nothing would make what they were going to do any easier. Rosa would never forgive them, even if they failed. Cassidy shook their head. Would it just be better to disappear without a trace? Rosa might be able to move on faster if they did. Nothing would make this better for Rosa, and Cassidy knew that. They knew that Rosa loved them more than anything else in the world. To be fair, Rosa was the light of Cassidy's life. The entire 9 years they had spent with this woman were some of the best in their life. Even if that wasn't enough to stop them, they knew that Rosa's PTSD would come back with a vengeance after they did it. This should have talked them out of it by now, and that thought terrified them. Teardrops littered the pages, seeping through the layers of paper. Cassidy looked at the time, 4:32 a.m. They looked back over at their sleeping wife. Her auburn hair glistened in the moonlight. She was always so beautiful, even in her sleep. Despite it all, Cassidy really did love their wife. No. Cassidy was stalling.
Continuing from the letter. Rosa, I love you. You are the light of my... The things Cassidy could write would always sound either too cheesy and stupid or too deep into wedding vow territory for them. They sighed and tapped the pencil on their chin. Every breath they took strained their body. It was a sickening feeling in their stomach and a heavy ache in their chest. This wasn't an uncommon occurrence for Cassidy. Small thoughts slipped into their mind. Rosa didn't love them. She just felt obligated to stay with them. That the relationship was just based off of obligation rather than love. A sharp, bitter pang rang in her chest, or their chest. It wasn't true. Nothing that they had started to tell themselves was true. They had to believe it wasn't. Unless it was.
Excerpt from the letter. I'll be back soon, my love. Out of the letter. That would have to do. Short, sweet, and a possible light for her to hold on to. Maybe they had just gone for a midnight jog and got lost, or went to the store and hadn't come back yet. Everything in their life had been amazing. Their relationship was perfect, their job was steady, and even a promotion was on the table. So why were they being like this? Cassidy hadn't wanted to hurt anyone, and yet they continued to push everyone away. It all just melted into apathy, as though nothing they ever did mattered to anyone. Their body felt like it was going to give out under them, almost as though it wasn't even theirs. A bystander watching as someone else did everything as them. They sighed and started sobbing a little more. They had stopped taking their medication. If it wasn't going to work, why even bother? They sealed the note with a kiss and slipped out of their bedroom. Their body was shaking under the mental stress of their choice to finally go through with it. Rosa was better off without them. They knew how much it worried her when they slept for hours on end, or took a nap and wouldn't wake up until the morning, or all those sleepless nights. Even if Rosa did love them, it wasn't fair to be a burden on her. Besides, Rosa needed her sleep now that she wasn't plagued by constant nightmares of days past, and Cassidy couldn't wake her up. Cassidy slipped into the living room and opened a drawer. Inside was a pair of scissors they had hidden. They stared at them for a second, glancing between... Sorry, my Siri just activated, unfortunately. Give me one moment. Have a good look at the new bright necklace that Katie got me, because it's wonderful. That's what that was for. That was advertising. Okay, we're back. Where were we? Slipped in the room, pair of scissors they had hid. Got it. No, put it back. There we go. They stared at them for a second, glancing between their bare, scarred arms and the pair of scissors. It wasn't worth it if they were going to die anyways. They tossed the silver blades across the room. They felt sick to their stomach, like something was pulling them back. They just ignored the feeling and opened the door to the apartment. A cold wind hit them as they walked down the stairs and into the parking garage. It was dark, but they could still see well enough to find their car. The concrete felt like needles on their shoeless feet, but they only relished in the pain of it. They drew a breath before unlocking the car and sitting down. Tears still dripped off of their face, and they let out an anguished scream, one that hurt their throat and reverberated around the garage. The only return was the echo of their faded scream. Tired eyes rested on the garage door as their heart thumped loud in their ears and chest. This adrenaline scared them, but they experienced it before and shoved it off. To them, it didn't matter anymore. Cassidy had tunnel vision. It didn't matter that tears clouded their vision, or that Rosa would miss them, or if they got hurt. It only mattered that Cassidy succeeded. They knew that they could have caught themselves before their fall. They knew everything could have turned out all right, and they knew all of this could have been avoided. All of this, because Cassidy had let self-destruction thrive. After all, it was all they were good for. End of tale 1. Oh, you were right. This is not light reading tonight.
No, it is not. Yeah, oof.
All right.
Fortunately, that was the
Go ahead.
worst
Any
of it,
words
I
about
believe.
that?
Yeah, just pain and destruction. Overall, just big rip.
All right, I've got this on my teleprompter, and so I'm reading the text as we go, and after we're done, you got to go back and do a little bit of punctuation checks, because I think you saw a little of them too. The critique brain turned on halfway through. I was like, uh-oh.
You're just like, oops. And I was just like, uh-oh.
One benefit of being a YouTuber is that you read every single word, and so you know where everything goes wrong.
Yep.
You're going to do that. You're going to do a run after the show, I'm sure, but there are 2 words that I wanted to ask you about as a critique person. There was a sharp, bitter ping ringing in their chest. Was that going to be pang, or did you mean ping?
I meant pang. Oops.
Sweet.
I thought I had fixed up that.
It could have been from an earlier draft. Who knows? No story is ever perfect or finished, is it?
Google Docs coming to ruin my life.
Oh, was there one more? Was there one more thing? Oh, there was a word that I would suggest changing, and it's just because I thought it might be interesting, but I can't find it right now. There was something where I thought it'd be interesting if it was a bout of something, like B-O-U-T, rather than a whatever of something it currently is. But I can't find it right now. Stupid, DT, vow territory. They sighed and tapped the pencil in the chin. Every breath they took their strength in the body. Sickening feeling in the stomach. Heavy ache in their chest. Small thoughts in their mind. Rosa didn't love them. She felt obligated to stay with them. And their relationship based off obligation rather than doubt. Sharp, bitter pang. It wasn't true. Nothing. It's something we can look for later.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But, wow. Okay. Emotions. I'm feeling them.
Good. That was my goal.
You did it.
I have come to ruin the day once more. That's right. You thought you were having a good day. No, that ends here.
Oh no, this is art. This is art feels, man. This isn't even better day. Sometimes you gotta read sad stories to feel anything at all.
Yes.
Any other notes before we move on to Without You?
Not really. Just there were some things that I should go look back for. As a note to myself.
And the chat is mostly not having any questions, so I think you've enthralled them pretty well.
Yes.
Ready for round 2. I'll start.
Yes.
You say tag if you feel like it, and I'll say tag if I feel like it. Ready?
Yep.
Without You is the name of the tale. And the first line, "I'll be back soon, my love," is a link back to Hurt. So now we continue. Rosa woke from her sleep in a cold sweat. Her breath hitched and her eyes widened as she struggled to find her phone. Tears welled in her eyes as she curled into a ball, clutching her knees. Her heart pounded in her aching chest, leaving her feeling weak. The spot next to her was cold and messy, untouched since Cassidy had disappeared 2 days ago. Shivers ran down Rosa's spine as she pulled one of Cassidy's pillows to her. It still smelled like them. Time was slow for Rosa ever since she had found the note that now haunted her dreams. Rosa wasn't an idiot. She knew there was little hope of her spouse coming back. But every time her mind had run into that topic, it sent a heavy ache through her body, one she couldn't shake off anymore. Pins and needles pricked her hands and feet. Fingers and toes felt like curling into themselves. Rosa sobbed, continuing to clutch the pillow to her body. Everything had seemed so perfect, like nothing could go wrong. Yet, the unthinkable happened, and Rosa would give anything to go back and just hold Cassidy a little bit longer. Memories of giggling after dark and cuddling filled Rosa's mind. This was different. A sickening worry. Not like when Cassidy had been gone for a few days. No, this was a frozen hole. She likened it to the Greek myth of soulmates, how humans were destined to search for their other half in vain. Rosa had found her other half, hadn't she? Where did they go?
Tag.
Yes, exactly.
She sighed, calm slowly drifting over her body. Rosa let go of the pillow, tears still streaming down her face. She flopped onto her back, taking in a heavy breath. She closed her eyes for a second. Then, when they opened, they rested on a framed picture of their wedding day. They traced Cassidy's face. A silence drifted through the room. Rosa wiped her cheeks and stopped crying. She was so calm. Her body felt limp and her head felt empty. Her eyes kept tracing Cassidy's face as she stared at the photo. She held her breath. The lack of oxygen stung her lungs. The breath broke the stale air, and her lips curled into a smile. Giggles pierced the silence. Rosa stood up and grabbed the photo, smashing it against the wall with a crunch of glass. Tears, once again, spilled out of her eyes. "Fuck you! Fuck you!" she screamed, continuing to slam the frame into the wall. "This was my happy ending! This was mine!" She let out an anguished howl as she tossed the dark wooden frame to the ground. Her throat stung as she kept screaming into the apartment. The shattered glass stuck to her feet as she walked over it. She caught her reflection in the standing mirror, her skin pale, eyes dull with no light. Rosa's face twisted into an angry grimace as she pulled back her arm, launching it into the pristine surface. The shards of broken mirror impaled themselves into her hand. Her eyes contrasted with her face, soft and sad against the malice and contempt. She screamed in incoherent words as she ripped open the door to the bathroom. She tore into the drawers and cabinets. She ripped wiped the counter clean off of any objects. The crashing and shattering sounds only served to fuel Rosa's rage, or the rage Rosa felt. "Fuck you! Fuck all of you! All you ever do is take from me! All you ever do is lure me in with false happiness!" Rosa walked over to the mess of things on the floor. She didn't have regard for her own existence. If the world was going to screw her around like this, why bother with life in the first place? She ran her head into the wall, producing a loud crack sound and blurring her vision for a second. She didn't know if the sound came from her skull or the wall, but she didn't care. A breath ran over her vocal cords as she grunted. Rosa blinked, looking for anything else to destroy. She felt so guilty, angry, and tired. Nothing mattered anymore. Her love was gone, and nothing could fix that. She looked at the stuff on the dresser. None of it mattered. Rage bubbled up inside of her again. It was so perfect.
You can keep going. I think this scene, you're on a good roll. Keep it going. I'll let you have this.
It was so perfect. It didn't deserve to look like that. It couldn't be happy if she wasn't happy. She slammed her body into it, tearing into the drawers as she threw shirts and pants across the room. Nothing was in them, or when nothing was in them, she broke the wooden drawers and tossed the parts over her shoulder. She couldn't keep this up. Her body was giving out. It all hurt so badly, and she couldn't stand to feel this emptiness. The world was empty and didn't matter to anyone. The phone buzzed on her bed, and Rosa went to grab it. The message only read, "No dice," and she knew it was true. There wasn't a body, no documents in SCIP net, and almost nothing left of Cassidy. They weren't just missing, they were gone. Their presence had left the universe and wouldn't return. She slid against the bed, glass shards making way for her body as she sobbed. All of the anger and rage had subsided, only to be replaced with grief. Her head pounded in time with her heart, and her throat felt shot. She leaned against the bed frame, tears sliding down her face, hands aimlessly wandering the carpet. Her fingertips brushed against the corner of the picture frame. She picked it up, looking at the damage she had done to it. Larger glass shards hung off of the dark ebony wood. Rosa sighed and put her focus on the picture. That was the happiest day of their lives. It was meant to be the happily ever after she deserved. The one final chapter on her life, to live out the rest of her days in bliss. Yet it was all ripped away in a second. Rosa knew no one was to blame for Cassidy's disappearance. Not a kidnapper or a murderer, anyway. "I'm so sorry." Rosa's tears dripped onto the exposed picture as she held it close to her, hugging it like it was the only thing that was left in the world.
Yeah, there really wasn't a good place to come back. That scene, like, once we first switched, it turned into a roller coaster that, like, you were on your way.
It did, yeah. Hey, I got it.
Feelings thoroughly felt. Aye.
Good.
Okay, so my first question is, where did all this come from? What is the genesis of these two stories?
Mostly just... Okay, so, with, Hurt being, like, part one, I started writing it pretty much in the middle of the night, just like... I can't sleep, so let's write something. So I was starting to think, I was like, well, I know, Void Lady wanted a character tag for Cassidy. I think I'm going to toss aside my original story that I was writing, which was originally, I don't know if you've read any of, like, the Friendly Vandals work, but, like, you know how, like, they're relatively long tales and, like, I was trying to, like, base it off of somewhat of that, before. I got, like, 5,000 words in and then decided, and I tossed it aside. And I started working on this at whatever time it was in the tale. Yeah, 4:32 a.m. I don't make good choices.
Left yourself a nice mark in the story to remember, though, that this is when this became a thing.
Yeah, this is when this became a thing. I kind of stopped working on it for a couple of days after I started working on it, but then I came back to it, I was like, I have nothing better to work on. I think I'm going to work on this. And then it became my goal to just ruin the day of whoever read it. Just feelings. And some of it was kind of based off of, like, my own experiences. I really hate to say that, but it's kind of true. I just kind of dug deep into the edge and the depression of where Cassidy was at, and just worked with that.
You can tell that there's some, like, pent-up feelings here that are coming from a place you are familiar with. Yeah.
Not exactly a welcome feeling of emotion, but it worked, so it got my point across.
Exactly. The next one I want to ask is, was there anything that radically changed from the inception of this story to its current form? What was
No.
same thing the whole way?
Pretty much. The only thing that really changed was I turned it into a two-parter, like, and I posted without you within like 20 hours of like writing it, getting critique. So overall, I was just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna ruin people's days more, and that was kind of the only radical change between the two.
Brain froze. I was looking at the chat for a second. The chat is really enjoyed the feels in the story. Beautifully read, says C-Jops. We're getting called out for Dr. Bright broadcasting. I'm sure that that's a thing on the Bright list is not supposed to be done.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you, Bright?
And by the way, this is just a 3D printed thing that Katie got me for my birthday tomorrow, and so thank you, Katie.
Ooh. Also,
make for very
happy
good
early
TikToks.
birthday.
Costume upgrades. Perfect.
Haha. Yes.
All right, so how did the critique process for these go? How many people checked them out? Did you get brutalized, or was it mostly good? How'd that go down?
Yeah, I tried to get brutalized, but a lot of them were just kind of like, wow, I was not expecting this. And basically, it just turned into that. I got a lot more critiquers on Hurt than I did on Without You. I think a lot of that was because, like, I was like, I gotta get Without You out because of goals. Because once my brain just sets to a goal or like a marker, I'm like, it's time, and I just kind of shove everything else aside and do that one thing. So I did drastically a lot less with Without You, but I honestly, a lot of the harsh critique just kind of, I guess, didn't really exist after they read they read it. Like, yeah, there were a lot of grammatical things that needed to be fixed, but like not really like, you will die with this critique.
That there are a lot of writers who, it's a lot easier for people who race through the story writing process and just kind of like miss a lot of typos. That's almost a lot more forgivable than someone who has like all the proper spelling and grammar and punctuation, but their story isn't there.
Yeah. That's a lot of the previous works that I was working on before this were that are still in drafts are a lot like that. Like, oops.
I don't know exactly what story I'm trying to tell yet. Oopsie.
I know that it's going to be a drama and a love story. That's all I knew, and honestly, both of those have kind of fallen flat as of this point in time.
They're boiling, they're simmering, they're waiting for the right flavor to come in and fix it.
Hopefully, if I ever get back to working on them.
Because a lot of SCP writers are hobbyists and come out of the woodwork. Some of our people are actual authors. Some of them are just teenagers who happen to like the site. Do you consider yourself a writer outside of the wiki? Is this something you do or what?
Not unless it's really just like something that I have to do. Most of the time I just author for the wiki and I'm just like, I call it good. I'm like, no, I don't think I want to write anything else for now. Plus, half of the things that I want to write would probably get me sent to the principal's office anyway. A lot more flies here than it does in school. Just saying.
It's good that we write in aliases in the wiki because don't need that. Don't need some of this linked to us publicly.
Yep. gotta get those fake names in here.
Yeah, I kind of spoil that for everybody when I have you all on camera, don't I? Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if people know me, I don't care, honestly. Mostly because I am that one person who Honestly, if people know me at school, they know me.
It's
I am not an easily forgettable person.
We're all being constantly
Sorry.
surveilled anyways.
Yeah. The government is coming for us.
The birds work
Beware
for the
the
bourgeoisie.
bees.
All right,
The birds work for the bourgeoisie.
my standard final question for reading is, do you have any favorite articles or tales outside of your own work that you want to pimp for the viewers today?
Speaking of birds, I really... Team Bird. Go read Team Bird. It is the greatest thing ever put on the wiki. Seriously.
So I remember Team Bird came about during the Canon contest, right?
The Doomsday contest for 2018.
Doomsday, yes.
Yeah, that's actually what really got me into the wiki beyond just like, guess I'll write a thing here and there. That was like my first, like one of my first major tales I posted in the, and this, keep in mind, is like way after the original story is done. But honestly, Team Bird is the greatest thing you will ever read. And if you think otherwise, then we can't be friends. I'm sorry.
You heard her, folks. You are on notice.
I'm sorry. I'm strict on this. It's a strict thing. I'm sorry if you don't enjoy Team Bird. We can't be friends.
Guess you guys better go do some research. Otherwise, you're not going to be friends today.
This is correct.
Any final words for the audience before we sign off.
Show off. Be cool. Stay safe. Be cool. Stay safe. Preferably don't die. I mean, you know.
Be safe, be well. There's still a pandemic in America.
Unfortunately, yes.
All right, well, on happier notes, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you for sitting through the edge. The good edge, though. It's so good.
We all need a little angst in our life. We all need to feel feelings once in a while. We're all stuck in our apartments.
This is correct. If you don't feel feelings, then I will make you feel feelings. By brushing your bones.
All right, Kara, we're going to sign you off for the night. Thank you for joining us. Be safe, be well. And meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen of the viewership and anyone else in between, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell to make sure you see our videos and streams. Become a patron if you really want to help us out. And we will see you next time at our next Anomalous Broadcast from Site-42. And go to banner. Yeah, that was a good show. We did it. We did it well. Nobody died. Everything's fine.
And in between's not kosher anymore. Because you could just